Hi, let's learn about parameterized constructor. Constructor are used to initialize the objects. So constructors differ from methods, where methods are used to describe the behavior of object. We have already seen about constructor. There are two types of constructor. One is default constructor and parameterized constructor. So constructor will have the same name that of the class name. If you have a class as fruit, then constructor we have to create as fruit only. Then in case of default constructor, it won't have any arguments. Basically constructor won't have any return type. Methods will have return type, but constructor they won't have return type, not even void. In case of default constructor, we don't have any arguments to be passed, and in case of parameterized constructor, we can pass arguments to the constructor, that is parameterized constructor. So parameterized constructor that has parameters is called parameterized constructor, or we can put in other terms that constructor with arguments is called parameterized constructor. So it is mainly used to provide different values to distinct objects. So if you want to initialize fields of the class with your own values, then you can use parameterized constructor. Default constructor has no parameter. So syntax of default constructor is the class name followed by empty parenthesis and the block, like the statements we want to display. Next, if no constructor, then Java compiler will create default constructor for the class, right? So here in case of parameterized constructor, the arguments will be passed to the constructor. Okay, then if we want to create parameterized constructor, we have to write the class name followed by the arguments. The purpose of parameterized constructor is to assign user wanted specific values to the instant variable of different object. The parameterized constructor is written by the programmer only. Explicitly it will be written by the programmer, whereas default constructor can be created by the compiler by itself if you don't specify that, but parameterized constructor that user has to return explicitly by the programmer in the program. It is possible to initialize an object with different set of values at the time of creation. So this is what about parameterized constructor. Let's see an example. So here I have created a class let's learn param, right? So in this I am having two variables, one is roll number and another student name. Now I have created a constructor. How to create a constructor? It should have same name as class name. Yes, I am having. Next, it won't have return type. Yes, since it's a parameterized constructor, it will have arguments, right? So this I am having two arguments, one is I and another is n. Okay, next n is of string type, I is of int type. Next, what I am doing, I am assigning value of roll number and name as I and n. Okay, this is about the constructor. Next, I am having a display statement in the class. The display statement displays the roll number and student name. Okay, in main what I am doing, I am just creating an object variable for the class. I am just calling out the parameterized constructor. I am passing how many variables arguments has been passed? Two arguments, right? So I have passed two arguments. One is of integer, another is of string. So in this way, class name followed by the object variable, new keyword is used to create the object variable, right? Next, followed by the parameterized constructor we are called here. Next, another object I have created. Then I have passed two values. Next, I invoke the method of the class. The method in the class is display. Then I invoke with the help of object variable x1.display, s2.display. So what do you think the output will be? If you work out, you can very well observe. You will get the value as 1 Anju, 2 Manju. In that way it will display. Let's get into the examples. See, here I have created a class param construct, right? In this I am having three constructors. So what type of constructor? It is parameterized constructor. So this parameterized constructor takes two arguments. Here I am passing three integer arguments. In this third one I am passing an integer argument as well as a string argument, right? So how we can create? I am just displaying constructor with two parameters. In this case I am writing constructor with three parameters. In the third constructor I am given this parameter with a constructor with integer and string parameter. Next, in main, what you are doing? In main, I am just creating object for the class, then I am calling out the parameterized constructor. So when this object is created, the constructor will be invoked, right? So when I execute it, I will get the display. So this is of 2 arguments. So the constructor, it contains 2 arguments. Naturally, which constructor will be called? This first constructor with 2 arguments. If it finds 3 values, then it will call 3 argument constructor. Then it is having an integer as well as a string value, then this will be called. Okay. In this we can have a change. Let me declare a 2 variable int a comma b. Fine. Now I am giving semicolon. Next, inside this first constructor with 2 arguments, integer arguments, what I am going to do is I am assigning a equal to I. Next, I will be assigning b equal to j. Fine. Okay, in this constructor, what I am doing, I declared a variable and I assign. Now what I am going to do is, I just going to execute now. What happening? There is no change. So what I am going to do, I am going to display it. So I am passing, I want to display the variables, right? So I will display the variable. So what happened? I am having So what happened? When this object has been created, the constructor with 2 integer arguments will be invoked. Then here this 2 value will be passed and it will be assigned to AB. Then the constructor with 2 parameters. The statement I have displayed is the constructor with 2 parameters and the value. So it will get displayed. So we can have parameterized constructor with any number of arguments. We can have integer arguments, we can have 2 integer or 3 integer, or we can have the combination of integer and string. That's what the example I have shown here. Next, we will see another example where I have created a constructor. This is the class rect parameter, right? Then how to create a constructor? Same name as of class name. Since it's a parameterized constructor, I am just creating a 2 arguments parameterized constructor. Okay, integer arguments. Next, I have declared I am going to find the length of the rectangle. The length of the rectangle is length into breadth, right? So it is like method, but it don't have return type, right? But it will have same name as that of class name. Now I will click. Now what I am doing, I am assigning the length and breadth with the value that has been passed. Next, I am having another method. In the method, I am just returning. In the class, I am having a constructor as well as a method. In the constructor, I am assigning the values. In the method, I am just calculating the length of the area of the rectangle, length into breadth. Next, in main, what I am doing, I am creating object. 2 objects I have created, 2 different values I passed. So when this is created, this 5, 6 value, this value will pass to the L, and in case of B it will be 6. Then length will be assigned as 5, breadth will be assigned as 6. Next, what happened? It will next I am invoking the method first rect dot area. Then that a value will get displayed. Right? We got 5 into 6, 5 is 30, and 7 into 8, 56. Right? So in this way, we can use parameterized constructor. So constructor, parameterized constructor, default constructor. Parameterized, we can have arguments passed to the constructor, and how to call that parameterized constructor, and how we can have a method, and how we can display the method by object variable. This and all you have seen. Keep learning. Thank you.